It was a bright Monday morning at Wagato International Airport. Soldiers were positioned, vehicles polished, and the runway cleared. President Ibrahim Traoré was scheduled to board a private military jet for a crucial summit abroad. His convoy rolled in slowly, heavily guarded, surrounded by armed officers and protocol staff. The red carpet had been rolled out. The jet stood waiting, engines quietly humming, ready for takeoff. Everyone was in place. The national anthem began to play softly through the speakers. Then suddenly everything changed. From nowhere, a woman in rags burst onto the runway, screaming at the top of her lungs. "No, stop. Don't enter that plane. Blood. Blood in the sky." Security was stunned. She had wild hair, dirty skin, bare feet, and a torn dress that flapped in the wind. Her eyes looked lost and yet focused. She threw herself in front of the lead car in the convoy, her arms outstretched, yelling, "It will fall. The sky is angry. I see fire. Don't fly." Guards rushed toward her, grabbing her roughly. "Who is this?" one soldier shouted. "Where's the breach? How did she get in here?" President Traoré, sitting in the armored SUV, looked outside. He raised his hand to stop the guards. "Wait," he said calmly. "Don't hurt her." "But sir, this woman, she could be dangerous." "She's barefoot," the president said. "If she was dangerous, we would know." The guards paused, confused, but obedient. The mad woman was now kneeling, crying into her hands. "I saw it. The plane. It breaks like glass. Blood falls like rain. Please don't go. Don't go." The president stepped out of the vehicle. The sun reflected off his white traditional attire. He walked slowly toward the woman, everyone holding their breath. "What's your name?" he asked softly. She looked up at him. Her lips trembled. "They call me mad. But I remember the wings. I remember fire. You are not safe." President Traoré turned to his chief pilot. "Delay the takeoff." The pilot blinked. "Sir," I said, "delay the flight now." His security team exchanged shocked glances. This was the president. A delay like this could cause a diplomatic mess. "But Mr. President, we are behind schedule. Your address is in 5 hours. "Better late than never dead," he said sharply. "Check the plane. Everything. Engine, fuel system, hydraulics. Check all of it again." The woman began to rock back and forth, whispering to herself. Wings screaming. The sky cracked open. "I told them." They didn't listen. They never listen. The guards restrained her gently this time, unsure of what to believe. The airport director came running toward the scene, panting. "Mr. President, this is a serious breach. We don't know how she entered the airfield. She's not registered. We are investigating immediately." "Do that," Traoré replied. "Also, find out who she is. I want answers." An hour passed. The mad woman was placed in a secure room under surveillance. She sat silently staring at the wall, muttering words no one understood. Meanwhile, aircraft engineers checked every inch of the presidential jet. Everything seemed fine until they opened the left engine valve system. "Sir, over here," one of the mechanics shouted. They found a dangerous fuel pressure fault, a hidden leak that could have triggered an explosion midair. The engineer turned pale. This plane would have gone up in flames 15 minutes into flight. Another officer ran with the report to the president. "Sir, she was right. There's a serious fault in the jet. It's a miracle we didn't take off." President Traoré stood quietly, his hands behind his back. He looked toward the room where the mad woman was being held. "Tell me again," he said. "How did she get past every layer of airport security?" "We don't know yet, sir. We're checking the CCTV. It's like she appeared from thin air." The president's eyes narrowed. "No one appears from thin air." Back in the city, news of the airport incident began spreading like wildfire. "Mad woman stops presidential jet." "Who is the barefoot prophetess? Sabotage or miracle?" Citizens were divided. Some said it was God. Others called it witchcraft. But everyone agreed on one thing. President Ibrahim Traoré was still alive because of her, and the question on every lip was, who is she? Inside the special holding room at the airport, the woman sat in silence, hugging her knees to her chest. Her hair was tangled. Her feet were bruised, but her eyes were still sharp, watching everything. President Ibrahim Traoré arrived quietly with 2 trusted guards. He wanted to see her, not as a president, but as a man who had nearly died. "Leave us," he told the guards. "Sir, we don't know who she is. It's not safe." "I said, leave us." The guards hesitated, then stepped out. President Traoré walked into the room and closed the door gently behind him. The woman didn't move. He pulled a chair and sat opposite her. "Can you hear me?" he asked. No answer. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly. "In fact, I think you just saved my life." Still, she was quiet. He leaned forward. "Please, I want to understand. How did you know about the plane?" Her lips moved, whispering. "Wings, fire, blood. What's your name?" he asked. Her voice cracked. "They took my name away. They called me mad. But I remember. I remember." President Traoré was patient. He listened. Said nothing for a while. Then slowly she lifted her eyes to meet his. "I used to fly," she whispered. "Long ago." "Fly?" the president asked. "Yes, I studied planes. I worked on engines. But they stopped listening when I screamed." President Traoré sat up straight. "You're an engineer." She nodded slowly, then winced like the memory hurt. "They died," she whispered. "My husband, my daughter in a plane like yours. I warned them. They didn't listen. They died." Tears rolled down her dirty cheeks. "And you lost everything," Traoré said softly. She nodded again. "Since that day," she said, "I hear sounds in my head, screaming, wings breaking, fire falling. So I walk and I watch. I've been watching your airport for months." He stared at her in disbelief. "You've been here all this time?" She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. I saw the same signs, the same noise, the same dream. I knew another plane would fall. The president stood up. What's your real name? She looked at him. Mariam, she whispered. Dr. Mariam Zongo. His eyes widened. That name rang a bell. I know that name, he said. You used to work with the Aviation Authority. She looked down until they said I was mad and threw me out. Later that day, President Traoré ordered a full background check on Dr. Mariam Zongo. The results came back fast. She had once been Burkina Faso's top aviation safety expert. She had studied abroad in Germany and graduated with honors. She had served on multiple international aviation panels. Then 5 years ago, her husband and daughter died in a tragic military plane crash. She had written a report warning of mechanical faults weeks before the crash, but her warnings were ignored. After their deaths, she stopped working. Then she disappeared. People said she lost her mind. She became the woman on the street, the mad woman. That night, President Traoré addressed his inner circle. This woman, he said, holding up her file, is not mad. She's broken. And we broke her. Our system failed her. It ignored her warnings, cost her family, and pushed her to the streets. Everyone in the room was silent. She saved my life today, and I will not rest until her life is restored. He turned to his chief of staff. Admit her to the best hospital, not a mental facility, an actual hospital, full evaluation, clean clothes, good food. Let her rest. Yes, sir. Then he added, I want a full investigation into that plane fault. If there are more like it, ground every aircraft until we are sure. Outside, the country buzzed with questions. How did a so-called mad woman get past airport security? How did she know the plane was faulty? Why did the president listen to her? People were stunned but grateful. For the first time, many saw President Traoré not just as a leader, but as a man of compassion. One headline read, "She warned them before. They called her mad. Now she's a national hero." Back at the hospital, Mariam lay in a clean bed with soft pillows and white sheets. For the first time in years, she slept peacefully. No screaming, no blood, just silence and hope. President Ibrahim Traoré arrived quietly at the hospital the next morning. There was no press, no crowd, just him and 2 trusted guards. He didn't want noise. He came with one reason, to thank the woman who saved his life. He walked through the white corridor of the special care unit and stopped at the last room. A nurse opened the door gently and said, "She's much better this morning, sir." Clean, calm, and quiet. The president nodded and stepped in. Mariam was sitting up in bed. She wore a clean blue gown. Her face was still tired, but the madness was gone from her eyes. She looked at him. "You came," she said softly. "I told you I would," he replied, pulling a chair closer. "How are you feeling?" "I slept well for the first time in years," she said, smiling faintly. "That's good." There was silence between them for a while. Then she looked at him again. "I remember you not just from the airport but in the vision. I saw you." President Traoré was quiet. "A vision?" She nodded. I know it will sound strange, but I need to tell you the full truth. I didn't just stop you because I heard noises or saw a fire in my dreams." She paused, then whispered, "A voice, something I don't understand, has been speaking to me for years, guiding me, warning me." The president sat forward, listening carefully. "I never knew what it was," she continued. "I used to think I was mad, but now I believe it's a spirit, a being, something beyond this world. It led me to the crash that killed my family. It showed me the weakness in the plane, but I was too late." She looked away, blinking back tears. "After that, I stopped being myself. I left my house. I walked the streets. But the voice didn't stop. It kept warning me, showing me other dangers." The president asked, "So, this being led you to the airport yesterday?" Miriam nodded slowly. 3 days before you arrived, I started hearing the cry of the plane. Not from the sky, from the ground. I followed the sound every night. I didn't sleep. I walked. I waited." Her hands trembled as she spoke. "Then on that morning, the voice screamed, 'Go now. Run. He must not fly.' And I ran." President Traoré sat in silence. What he heard was hard to explain, hard to believe. But something in her voice, her eyes had made it clear. She believed it. And somehow the results were real. "Why you?" he asked. "Why would this being speak to you?" She looked at him and whispered, "Maybe because I lost everything and had nothing else left to lose." The room fell quiet again. Then she added, "Or maybe because no one else listens." Later that day, the doctors confirmed it. Miriam's mind was stable. She was not mentally ill. She had suffered a severe emotional breakdown after losing her family, which had caused her to live in the streets and talk to herself. But inside she had always been aware, always watching, always hearing. The doctor said her mind created a way to survive the pain. She calls it a voice, but we call it memory, pattern, instinct mixed with something spiritual. President Traoré thanked them, but in his heart, he knew this wasn't just science. It was something deeper. Back at the State House, the president met with his aviation team. "The same model of the plane we were to use has now been grounded across the country," one officer said. "Good," the president replied. "No more shortcuts, no more lives lost." He looked out the window and whispered, "She saw it coming." But no one believed her. At the hospital, Miriam sat by the window watching the sky. A nurse brought her warm food. "The president says he will visit again," she said with a smile. Miriam didn't speak. She only stared at the sky. Then, in a quiet voice, she said to no one in particular, "I hear wings again, but this time they are safe." 1 week later, Miriam stood at the gates of the State House. She was no longer the woman in rags. Her hair was neatly braided. She wore a soft cream dress and flat shoes. Her face was fresh, calm, healed. Standing beside her was a guard assigned by the president himself. She looked up at the tall building ahead, the same building where laws were made and destinies changed. She clutched a small purse tightly in her hand and whispered, "I never thought I would ever stand here again." Inside, President Ibrahim Traoré was preparing to meet her. He had called the press, not for politics, not for power, but to show the country what it meant to believe in people, even the forgotten ones. When Miriam walked into the room, every camera turned. Flash, click, silence. President Traoré stood and walked toward her. "Miriam Zongo," he said with a proud smile. "You saved my life. You saved the lives of my guards and team. You stopped a national tragedy." She lowered her head shyly. "I was only doing what I was led to do." He lifted her chin gently. "And because of that, today we honor you." He turned to the crowd and began to speak. "This woman, whom we once ignored, whom we called mad, was once one of our best minds in aviation. We failed her. We abandoned her when she lost her family. But even in her pain, she still protected this country." He paused. "From today forward, she will not be known as the Mad Woman. She will be known as Madame Miriam Zongo, National Advisor for Aviation Safety and Emergency Warning." The crowd erupted into applause. Miriam's eyes welled with tears. "I'm not the same woman anymore," she said quietly to herself. "God gave me a second chance." That afternoon, she was taken to her new office inside the National Aviation Authority. It was small but bright, a desk, a window, a plaque with her name. She ran her hand across the smooth table and smiled. From the street to a seat of purpose. At night, President Traoré sat in his study, reflecting on it all. His assistant asked him, "Sir, do you really believe she heard something spiritual?" The president nodded slowly. "Yes, I don't understand it. I may never understand it, but what I know is this. Something greater was at work." And she listened. As for Miriam, she continued her healing journey. She visited schools, spoke to aviation students, and started a foundation for families who lost loved ones in crashes. One day, she sat under a tree in her garden and whispered again to the voice that led me, "Thank you." The wind blew gently. She smiled, not as a broken woman, but as a hero. Tune in to Black Struggles for more inspiring stories like this.